Hey everyone, is my voice audible? Is my voice audible? Okay, great. So yeah, I think we can get started. There are lesser number of participants, but I hope everyone will join as time goes. So yeah, good morning again. And just to give a quick recap on what we saw in the last session. So we just saw what is sliding into. For people who joined in, who already attended that session, I made sure that we discuss some other questions so that you can also get benefited from that. So I hope everyone is clear on that, and you had some time to brush up those topics. The thing is, I had some meetings and other things 2 days, so I was not able to continue uh, last 2 days of the last week. So anyway, so we'll continue the session. So yeah. So any doubts in so far before we start on? Okay. So yeah, so if there are no doubts, then we can continue the session. So today we'll be completely focusing on what is linked list and why linked list is needed and other things. So we'll get started. So so before getting started, so has everyone here attended the OOPS session? Like you guys already know what is OOPS and other things. Okay, I see no and yes. So since there is one no, I'll make sure that I cover that part as well. The reason being, OOPS is kind of prerequisite, not a prerequisite, not the entire OOPS. A part of that is useful here to understand this, right? So I'll cover that and then I'll continue the session, right? So first we'll see what is linked list and what is the main idea behind it, and then we'll come back to this what is class and other things, and then from class we'll take on to linked list, right? Okay. So first we'll see what is linked list, right? So if you see the spelling, it is linked list. Okay. So everyone would have used array, right? So we would have used array in various time frames, either be it solving questions or even in the last question, we used arrays to solve the question, right? Okay. So what happens behind the scenes is, say this is the memory, right? So this is the memory. What is memory? RAM, right? Random access memory. So you'll be having some RAM, right? 8 GB, 16 GB, whatever is configured in your system, right? So this is RAM, right? So what happens is, as I said, there'll be a compiler, right? So everything will have a compiler or every operating system, right? So operating system, what it will do is it will use this RAM for allocation. Say I'm using this Firefox, right? So this Firefox will need some memory, right? Some in-time memory. So what I mean by in-time is when I close this, it will be out of the RAM, right? So that's why RAM is volatile. What is volatile? If you switch off the computer, whatever was in the RAM, say I'm working now, suddenly I switch off the computer, whatever was there in the RAM is gone, right? So it will not be stored in the hard disk, right? So that's why your RAM is volatile. So whatever is needed during the runtime, that alone will be stored in RAM, right? Whatever is needed afterwards, you can store it in hard disk or SSD or something, right? Say your TV series or something, you will be having it in your hard disk. Even if you switch off the computer, it will be still there, right? So that's the main difference between RAM and hard disk, right? RAM is faster compared to hard disk, right? So that's why during in-time operation we use RAM because it's faster. So the accessing memory and taking data out of it, putting data into it will be faster. And there'll be even more faster thing called cache and other things, which you can see it in processor. So processor will come with a small cache that will be used for super fast computing and other things, right? So yeah, but we'll focus only on RAM, right? So this is RAM or some other form of memory, right? So what happens is, say you're declaring an array in a JavaScript program, right? Say I want an array of 100 numbers, right? So you can, there are many ways to do this. So beforehand itself, you're saying I want array of 100 numbers, right? What does this mean is there'll be 100 spaces for you to store some number, right? So that's what it means. So there'll be 100 spaces to store its number. Store whatever number you want, 100 numbers, right? So what will happen behind the scenes is whenever you declare this array of size 100, it will be stored in RAM, right? So what happens is, say this array is called A, okay? So it will go to RAM, and RAM will already be having some memory, right? So this memory will be used by some other program, this memory. So it will be usually random, right? So there's no rule on where to use the RAM and other things. So whenever someone wants something, say this browser wants to have some memory in RAM, it will directly go and access wherever it is available, right? So that is not, it is so random. There is no structure to it, right? So what happens is it will be something like this. All these blue boxes are taken by some other program, right? So I just assume that, and red boxes is being taken by this program, right? So when you declare an array of size 100, right? Whenever you declare an array, it's called continuous memory allocation. So what happens is the memory will be allocated in a continuous fashion, right? So what will happen is this compiler, JavaScript compiler, will go to RAM and find 100 continuous memory spaces, right? Because since you want 100, it will find 100 continuous memory spaces, right? So it will go here. Okay, it will see, okay, this is already used by RAM. So here it will come, and here it will see whether there are 100 memory spaces available, right? So how does this memory and other works? It's more of a compiler concept, not needed for this course. But usually it is hexadecimal or other things, right? So you need not worry about what compiler is doing here. You can kind of abstract it, right? So compiler will go and find 100 memory spaces in continuous fashion. Why continuous? Because it's an array, right? So that's the basic idea. So array is always continuous in memory allocation, right? The advantage of this is, say if you want to access 55th element of an array, right? 55th element of an array, you will put it as A of 54, right? So A of 54, correct? So what will compiler do behind the scenes is, so compiler will know the starting address of this A, right? So A will be having a starting address X, okay? So it will do X plus 54 into memory allocated here, right? So each will be having different memory. So if it is integer, it will take 2 bytes, something like that, right? So yeah. So the topic is how a memory allocation occurs when you declare an array, right? So that's what I'm taking, and that will lead to, you know, right? So that will lead to linked list, right? So that's the basic idea. So please try to join at least 5 minutes late, not more than that, or else you'll miss the flow, right? So you can always go back, but this is not kind of needed, very much needed. Just focus on what happens in a linked list, right? So the basic idea is, if you declare an array, it will be continuously allocated in memory allocation, right? So if you see, right, so this is what will happen if you want to get the 54th element in an array, just for some example, right? So one question is, say if you want to have the 55th element, so you will put it as A of 54. Why A of 54? Because the index starts at 0, right? So what is the time complexity of this? So what is the time complexity of directly accessing an element in an array? Why O of n? So what you say is, if you want to access 54th element, it will start at 0, 1, 2, 3, and then get the 54th element. Okay. So actually it is O of 1, right? Why it is O of 1, right? If you see, right, it's just addition, right? No one is, compiler will not go and do loop everything. So what it'll do is, say if you want to have a 54, it will take the base address, add 54 into the number of bytes, and then give you that address. So this address will be the address of this 54th element. In that address, it will take the value and give it to you, right? So be it 54 or 100 or 10 or 5, is the number of operations changing? The question is clear, right? So whichever element you want, is the number of operations changing on whichever element you want? Right. So that's why it is so often, right? So whatever it is doing only one operation. It will take the base address of the array, multiply it by whichever element you want, and give that address. From that address, it will take the value and give it to you, right? So that's what is going to happen, irrespective of whichever element you want, right? So yeah. So this is the basic idea. So is everyone clear on why it's so often? Anyone wants me to explain it again? Okay, so what will happen behind the scenes is, say if you want to access the 55th element or 100th element or something. So I'll take the base address, multiply 100 into the memory taken by each string, right? So integer will be having some memory, something like that, right? So we'll not go into the details. So it'll just do this addition and multiplication and give you the answer, right? So my question is, if you want to get the 10th element or 20th element or 100th element, is the number of operations changing? Right. So you get the idea, right? So the number of operations is not changing based on the input, which means that it's O of one, right? So that's what we know, right? So it's constant. Whatever be the thing, it is just constant number of operations you're doing, right? So that's why it is O of one. Now is it clear? Right. So yeah, so this is a lot will happen if it's an array, right? So we'll see what is the linked list, right? So this is the advantage of an array. Since it's being stored continuously, it's easy to directly go and access the element, right? So what is the disadvantage here, right? So compiler, say if you want to have some 10,000 memory spaces, okay? So say if you want 10,000 or 1 lakh memory spaces, right? So what will compiler go and do is it should go and find 1 lakh continuous memory allocations, right? So that is going to save some time, and that is going to take some time, right? So that's what I mean by the disadvantage. So you get the idea, right? Say if you want to have 1 lakh, it should go and find 1 lakh continuous memory allocation. That itself is going to take some time, right? So that time will not be very much, but that is going to take some time, right? So in some cases, right? So in some high computation cases or some high computation applications like gaming industry or payment industry and other things, where even this time matters, it is going to slow down the thing, right? So for example, if you are working in a gaming industry, right? Say let's just take some game. I think FIFA is very famous, right? So if you take FIFA, the size of the application itself will be 64 GB or something, right? And every time there'll be a lot of things that are changing. Say if you are playing a game, there'll be two teams involved. Everyone will be having a different celebration style. Everyone will be having different, playing style. Everyone will be having different hairstyle, facial, textures and other things. You get the idea. Right? So there'll be a lot of things that are changing, right? So in those cases, you need high speed, or you need very high speed computation, right? So in these cases, even this, finding continuous memory allocation is going to take some time, right? So that's why they came up with an idea on, instead of declaring all the things at first, whenever you want something, we'll go and declare, right? So let's just take the same example, right? So in some cases, what will happen is you will not even know how much memory you want at the start. That is also one more case, right? So that it can be during runtime. So whenever you want, you have to go and allocate. Whenever you don't want, you can just remove it, right? So that kind of a flexible kind of a data structure, right? So that's why they came up with this linked list. So what a linked list do is, say a new data is coming, right? Say you're starting a new game, right? So when you start a new game between A and B, right? So A's team members should be stored somewhere, right? So who are all there in A? B's team members should be stored, and his or her, playing style and everything should be stored, which is relevant to the game, right? So what will happen behind the scenes is those data alone. Say if you want to store some data for A, right? So those data alone will be stored wherever it's possible, right? So this space is available. So this is a small space which is being stored, right? Next time when you want some other thing to store, it will be stored in some other random place, right? You don't keep track of where you are storing, right? So it is more like whenever you want data, you go and use the RAM. Here, the advantage here is you need not, allocate all the memory spaces at once. Whenever you want, you can go and allocate, right? So think of this like a lot of integers are coming in. So when the first integer is coming in, you'll allocate a small memory space for that integer and then give that memory, right? Next time when a new integer is coming in, you allocate somewhere else. The reason being you can't keep track of it, right? Because you are randomly doing something, right? In an array, you kept track of it because you know where it is starting, right? So yeah, so this is called linked list, right? So in linked list, what you do is you'll go and allocate memory whenever it's needed, right? But one problem here is how do you know this red data and this red data are connected, right? So you need some way to know that okay, these two are connected in nature, right? So yeah. So this is the basic idea of a linked list. So what they'll do is they'll make sure that okay, after this is the data I want to look into. After this is the data I want to look into. After this is the data I want to look into, right? So likewise, it will be connected, right? But you want to know where it is starting from, right? So you want to know where it is starting from. So you want to have one more thing which is going to point at the starting point, right? So we call this as head, right? So from head, you go to the first data. From first data, will say where to go to the second data. Second data will say where to go to the third data, and so on, right? Last data will not have anything to store, so it will be null, right? So if you take this list and if you flatten it, it is called a linked list. So there will be a head which is going to point to the first data. First data will be pointing to the second data to the third data, and so on till the last data. Last data will be pointing to null, right? So this is called a linked list. So any doubts in this? Can everyone understand the difference between this and arrays? Right? So array is continuous in nature. This is not continuous in nature. Since it is not continuous, you don't know which is connected to which, right? So you want to know some way to store that. Okay, from this I have to go there. From there I have to go here, right? So yeah. So real world application of this, you can just Google. Gaming industry is kind of very famous in this, and even these cryptocurrency and other things are also using this, right? So this is a very low level thing. They'll be using it in much more abstract and it's much high level, right? From interview point of view, uh, this is a bit more difficult than arrays, right? Because arrays you can directly go and access an element, you can do whatever you want, right? And you can use built-in function. Here you can't use built-in function. You have to do everything. The reason being, it is something which is you created, right? So in arrays you're using built-in function because array is given by JavaScript, but this linked list is being created by you, right? So you can't use built-in functions. Actually, there are some libraries for that too, but what I'm saying is very plain JavaScript, JavaScript or something, right? So yeah. So any doubts in this? The overall concept. I'll come back to how we are going to represent what all things you need to know before this and other things. Okay, so I hope everyone is clear, right? So this is a basic idea of a linked list. So if you can skip this, you can skip this part on why we need this linked list and other things. You just understand that it's not continuous in memory space, it will be random. So since it's random, you need some way to identify, okay, from here I have to go to the next one, from there I have to go to the next one, so that you know, okay, all these data belong to a single person or a single data, right? If you don't have this connection, you don't know which one is connected to which one, right? So yeah. Okay. So this is a basic idea of a linked list, right? Okay. So before moving on, there is a small thing which we want to cover, right? Which is called class. Okay. So I'll say why class is important here, right? And then we'll move on to the next topic. Right? So this requires a little more attention. So please be a little more attentive. If you have any doubts, please do ask at that start itself. Okay. Okay. So now a basic question, right? So what is a class? Well, first we'll understand what is the class, right? So say you want to represent some real world object as a template. Okay. So what I mean by that is, say you want to represent all the cars created in this world. Okay. So all the cars created in this world. So for that we will use class, right? So how will that look like is class car, right? So class car, in that what all things every car will be having, right? So there will be length, breadth, and height, right? So we'll just make it simple. So length, breadth, and height, right? So let L, let B, and let H, right? So these are three variables every car will be having, right? So every car will be having some length, some breadth, and some height, right? So this is the basic idea of a car, right? So this is a template, right? So this is a template. What I mean by template is any car created in this world will be forming this template, right? So who can define this template? You can define this template. So you can define whatever you want, right? So it's not like it should be universal or something. For whatever program you want to solve, you can create a template, right? Say if you want to have a class only for supercars, you can do that. Say class supercar, right? Or if you want to have a class only for a specific company, right? Say company ABC car, right? So you get the idea, right? So this is user-defined data structure, meaning you can define whatever you want. Inside this also, you can define whatever you want, right? And you can also make sure, you can also say that only these objects fall into this car. So these all cars only fall into this class. Not all cars fall into this class. You get the idea, right? So it's completely flexible. You can define whatever you want, right? So what is the advantage of this class is any car created can be put into here. So there'll be a proper structure, right? So any car you create, there'll be a proper structure to it, right? So this is a class. So what is a class? A blueprint. Someone, as someone is saying, it is a blueprint or a template for some real world entity, right? So it need not be even real world. You can have even abstract world entity, right? But you get the idea, right? So if you want to have some structure, you create a class, right? So you get the idea, right? So if someone wants to represent some car, you can use this structure to represent the car, right? Okay. So till this point, is everyone clear? Can everyone understand what is a class? You'll be having these things in detail, but even if you get a very high level understanding of this is fine. So OOPS is object-oriented programming. There are many parts to OOPS, right? Class is one part of it, right? So there is another called inheritance. There is another called everything, which you'll learn it in object-oriented programming. There'll be separate session, I guess. So in that case, you'll learn, right? So what is OOP? Object-oriented programming. So what is object-oriented programming? If you can represent some real-world objects in computer language, it's called object-oriented programming. So what is the advantage of it? It's very close to real world, right? So if you have some car, if you buy a new car, you can put it into this class, right? So yeah. So this is called object-oriented programming, and class is a part of it, right? So there are other parts to this object-oriented programming as well. Right? So yeah, I'll not go into the details, but we'll just focus only about the class. So till this point, is everyone clear? Anyone wants me to explain this again? Okay. Okay. So this is called a class. Okay. Say if you are a car manufacturer, right? You want to create a new car. Okay. So you want to create a new car, right? So how do you represent this in a real way? Say you have created a new car, right? So this car is called ABC. Okay. So how do you represent this ABC in programming language, right? So there is something called new keyword. There is a new keyword. What is the keyword? Like let, const, like that. New is also a keyword. Where everything is a keyword. Where let, const, everything is a keyword. Likewise, new is also a keyword. So what is this new going to do? Right. Okay. Say you want this have this class car ABC. You have created a new car ABC. You manufactured a new car. So how do you represent this? So car ABC is equal to new car. So what will happen is this ABC is now a new car, right? So why is it a car ABC is equal to new car? Because it is a car, right? So it is following the structure of this car, right? So there can be this ABC can also be represented by in some other car as well. Say it is a supercar. Then the class will be called a supercar, and it will be having supercar kind of you know uh, attributes like usually the cars will be having 4-cylinder, right? So if it is a supercar, how many cylinders are having other things? Those kind of things will be having, right? So I get the idea, right? So this is called an object. ABC is an object of type car. So this is called an object. So what does it mean? It's a new car, right? So if it is an object of type car, it is a new car. If it ABC is object of type bike, it is a new bike, right? So this is a template and this is an object. What is an object? Object is something you have created using the template, right? So ABC is now an object. So can everyone understand the idea of this object? So any new car created in this world is an object. Okay, so I hope everyone is clear till this point. So class is just a template or a blueprint, and anything you create using that class is called an object, right? So any car in this world is an object. You get the idea, right? So if you want to represent any car in this world, you can write a class, and then every car is represented as an object, right? So what is the advantage of this? If you see, right? So if someone is seeing, okay, ABC is a new car. Okay, ABC is a new car you have created. You get the idea, right? So it is very close to real world programming, right? So that's why it's called object-oriented programming. Anything will be in terms of this object, right? So that's why it's called object-oriented programming or OOP, right? Actually, it's called object-oriented programming paradigm or object-oriented programming structure. So it's called OOPS, but yeah, OOP is the main thing, object-oriented programming, right? Or object-oriented paradigm, how people use these two terminologies. Okay, so now we have seen what is the class, what is an object, right? So this object is kind of a unique thing. Is having one thing which is very unique, right? And we'll see what is unique in that. Okay. Okay. So okay. So before moving on, any doubts? Because if you miss this, it will be a bit difficult. Anyone wants me to explain this? Okay. I hope everyone is clear till this point. Right. Okay. So now I'll ask this one question, right? So we have been using the same thing, right? Okay. So I'll ask this question. So say you have a function, main function, right? So everyone knows what is a main function, right? Okay, maybe I'll use this. Give me a minute. Right. So class is a template using which objects can be created. So here class is a structure for a car, right? So how a car should look like, right? Object is actually a car itself. You get the idea. Right? So yeah, so class is more of a blueprint. Object is a new car itself or a new life created out of the template, right? So yeah. Okay. Okay. So I'm just trying one thing. Give me a minute. Okay, great. So let's just take a quick code sample, right? Okay. So let's just take this example. So I'll just zoom in. Okay. So you tell me. Okay. So this is a JavaScript code. Okay. So the topmost part is a function. It's an arrow function, right? And bottommost part is the one which is invoking that arrow function. If you see, it is being invoked here, right? Okay. So now what will be printed here? What will be printed here? So what will be printed in the first part? What will be printed in the second part? Okay. So someone is saying 10 and 12. Okay. So if you see, right? So what is happening is C is currently 12. So you're passing the C value to this method A. Okay. A is getting that value C in B. Okay. B is being changed to 10. So here it will be 10 will be printed, right? But B being changed here, will it affect C? So that's the main part I'm covering here. So you're changing the value B inside the method. Will it affect C here outside that method? Okay, say we are returning B. What will happen? Right. Even if you return, it's not going to matter this, right? So the thing is, what will happen behind the scenes is C is equal to 12, right? When you pass this value to B, like this method, B will be a separate memory created in space, right? So this will be separate memory, this will be in separate memory. If you change B to 10, C will be unaffected, right? So this is called copy by value, right? So copy by value. So what is copy by value? Only the value will be copied and two different memory spaces will be allocated, right? So is everyone clear on this? Why we are getting 10 and 12 and why C's value is not being affected by the method? So this is called copy by value, and we usually think like this, right? So we, whenever you write some program, we usually think like this. Okay. So I even have a proof that this is 10, 12, right? So if you see, this is a 10, 12. If you see 12 is being printed, I'll again run it. So 10 and 12, right? So yeah, so this is what we have done here, right? Okay. So is everyone clear on this? Anyone wants me to repeat this part? Copy by value. Okay, so I hope everyone is clear, right? Okay. So same thing, right? Same thing. Right? The same thing. I'll say how we can do it. How what will happen if an object is being passed like this? Okay. So an object is being passed like this, right? Say you are creating a new car. Okay. So say what will happen when you pass an object, right? Say you are creating a new car. Car A is equal to new car. Okay. Right. So I'm just going to skip over these parts. Right. So A is equal to new car. A is having some new car. So how do you give the length and breadth of this A? you can use a dot length is equal to 12 or something, right? So I'm not going to cover that part. Right? So that part will be covered in notes, but you get the new idea, right? So you're creating a new car here, right? So you are passing this car to a function solve or something. So solve is a, okay? So here you are creating a new car of length 12, okay? So a dot length is equal to 12, right? So you have created a new car with length 12. 12, just keep it some number, okay? It doesn't need to make sense. So solve a, so you're passing this object. So what is the solve function doing is it is getting a type of car, okay? So you can name it anything, right? So you can name it A, B, C, D, it doesn't matter, right? Say if B dot length is being changed to 14, okay? So B dot length is being changed to 14, right? So what will happen is, so you get the idea, right? We are doing the same thing except that we are doing it in an object, right? So you're having a car A, you're passing that car, you're declaring the car A with length 12, and you're passing that object to another method. This method is going to change the length to 14, okay? So this is what we are doing. So is everyone clear on what we are doing here? Okay. So we are changing this B's length to 14, right? So what will happen is, this is called copy by reference. So what is copy by reference? So this B is changing this length to 14, right? If you print A dot length here, A dot length, it will be 14, right? The reason being this is called copy by reference. So when you copy two objects, what will happen is, say you are created a new car A, okay? That's what we did, right? So just ignore the poor drawing. So A is the car, right? When you do B equal to a new car will not be created. A new car for B will not be created. B equal to A means B is like a duplicate key to this car. You get the idea? It is referring to the same car, but it is a duplicate key. When you do C equal to A, again, a new car will not be created. C will just be pointing to this car. You get the idea. So C is another key for the same car, right? So this car length is 12, right? So if B is changing, say you have 3 keys to the same car, right? Say you have 3 friends, everyone is sharing 1 key, right? So one person is getting inside the car and maybe changing the music system or something. Will it be affected for others as well? Like I'm going in, say we 3 are friends, or we 2 are friends, right? So I go in and I change something inside the car. Once you come inside the car, will it be affected for you? Right. So that's what is happening here, right? Say if I go inside the car and change the braking, right? So say I make the clutch or something very loose, right? So what will happen is for you also it will be loose, right? So it will not be a copy of your car. You get the idea, right? So this is called copy by reference, right? So whenever you copy two objects, right, a new object will not be created. When will a new object be created? Only when you use this keyboard, right? When you copy it, a new object will not be created. It is more like a duplicate key or duplicate another variable to access the same memory space. You get the difference, right? But in integer, it was not like that. When you copy to integer, it was copied by value, meaning a new integer space will be created. So can you get the difference between copy by reference and copy by value? Right. So this is the basic difference between copy by reference and copy by value. So is everyone clear, right? Anyone wants me to explain again? The thing is, if you go, so what all things are copy by value? Basic trivial things, right? So if you pass in as basic trivial integer or thing, those are copy by value, right? I think array itself is copy by reference, right? Meaning if you pass an array, I'm not really sure about how things work in JavaScript because in C++ you can do it. You can control on which one to pass by array, which one to pass by reference. I don't know how JavaScript works here, but you can Google on which all are passed by reference and which all passed by value. But here our main idea is When you create an object, it is always passed by value, passed by reference. Meaning if you copy two things, unless you use the keyword new, a new object will not be created. Yeah, array is copy by reference, right? Yeah. So what I mean by array by copy by references, I can just go a quick, I don't know. Okay, so if you see, right, see this code, right? So what I'm doing is C is equal to new array, right? I'm marking this first variable as 12. Okay, first index of array as 12. Then I'm passing this array to another method, right? So this method is making it as 13. And then I'm printing this array. And after that, I'm also printing this array. If you see, right, the first index has been changed as 13, right? But here, if I print, again it's 13, meaning, so when I pass this array, a new array was not created. So when I pass this array to the method, a new array was not created, right? Another way to enter into this array that was created. So that is called a reference. So when someone is saying I'm referencing this object, it doesn't mean that I have created a new object. It's just that I have one more way to enter that object. You get the difference, right? So yeah. So that's what has happened here. So there was only one array in memory. There wasn't two array in memory. B is just another way to access the same array, right? So yeah. So is everyone clear on what is copy by reference? So these things you should keep in mind. And object is also copy by reference. So here, this is also an object actually. Object of class array. So there'll be array class written behind the scenes. If you have ID or something, you can go inside and see what they have written. So the C is forming the pattern of this array. Right? So that's what this statement means. So is everyone clear on this? So once you understand this, then you just need to have a shift in pattern, right? Right. So that's it. Once you understand this, then let's just see how we can. I hope everyone is clear, right? So you keep the same idea, right? So what you're going to do is, okay, I think I lost it. Anyway, I'll just quickly draw it. So if you all remember, coming back to this, so this is the array, right? So you have a head. Sorry, this is a linked list, right? So you have a head, and every memory is going to have two parts, right? One part is the data part, another part is the next part. So what is this next going to say? Next is going to say from here, where should I go next? Okay. So this is called a node, right? So every memory is called a node. Node will be having two parts. One is data, one is next. So what is this data? Data is going to store what data I should be having. This is very specific to this house. Say for car, right? So this is one car, this is second car, this is third car. Okay. This car is going to have its own color. This car is going to have its own color. This car is having its own color, right? So from first car, how do I go and see the second car, right? So something like that. You get the idea, right? So this will be much more useful if you are thinking in terms of houses, right? Say this is every house. So this is your house. This is your friend's house. This is his friend's house. Okay. So you will be having your own belongings, right? You will be having your own mobile, your own housing structure and other things. All these things come inside the data, whichever is specific to you. From here, you need to know the address of your next house, right? So where should I go? Where is my friend's house? So that part is stored here, right? So it will go to B. From B will be having, your friend will be having his or her own everything, right? And it goes on. You get the difference, right? So yeah, so this is what we are going to do. So if you see, this node is a class, right? So this node is a class because every memory is a node, right? So everyone is going to have only one. Everyone is going to have the same structure, data and next part. What you're having in data is only going to change, but the structure is same. So what you can do is you can create a class node, right? So one thing, right? So I'm going to create a class node. So this data part can be anything, right? So let data. It can be integer, string, whatever you want. You can keep it there, right? It's not going to affect it because it is very specific to you, right? Then you'll be having this next part, right? You'll be having this next part, right? So what will be the data type of this next part? So data can be anything. Data can be integer. Let's just say assume the data is an integer, right? What will be the data type of this next part? Next variable. So what is next going to store? Right. So it is going to store the address of the next element, but in JavaScript, you can't access the address, right? So it is just going to have a copy of it, right? Copy of the next house, right? So this next is going to be having the copy of the next house, but since it is copied by object, a new object will not be created, right? It is just going to have a copy of this next house, which is the reference of the next house, right? So since it is going to have the reference of the next house, what is the data type of this entire house? It's called node, right? So it will be of type node. Only thing is, it will not be having, it will not be creating a new node. It will be just be referencing the next node. So you get the difference. So there'll be two parts in every node. One data part, part can be anything. It doesn't matter. Next part is the one which is going to refer the already created node. Yes. Next part will be referencing the already created node. So the last node will be having the next part as none because it is not having anything to look into, right? So yeah. So now can you understand why class is helping here? If you're not using class, then you'll be having this entire it'll be a new object itself created here, right? Or a new data itself created here, which is a waste of memory. And it is more of, doing two things, three things again, right? So this is where, object copying is helping us because you're not creating a new object. You're just referencing the existing object. More like you're not constructing a new house itself. You're just going to create a duplicate key for it, right? So this part is going to have only the duplicate key or the key, right? Not duplicate key, just the key to the next house, not the entire house itself. This B is the entire house. B's house will be having its own thing, which is data, and B's house will be having another key, which is the key to the next house. Likewise, it goes on. Last key will not have anything to any key path, so it will be none. So how do you access this data and next? So if you want to access this thing, you can just put it as a dot data or a dot next or something, right? So is everyone clear on what is object copying and why we are going to use class here? What is the advantage of using class here? Right. So why do you use class? So here we are doing object copying. Right? So this is also of type node. This part is of type node. And this is also an entire node, right? What we're going to do is we're just going to copy this, meaning this part a dot next is equal to b, right? Here, a dot next will not be creating a new object itself. It will just be pointing to b. It will just be referencing b, meaning it is more like a duplicate key or a key, right? It is not like a building an entire house. So you get the difference, right? So if it had been like an integer, then this would have created a new memory itself, right? So we are not creating new memory. We are just referencing to the existing memory, which is B, right? So this is going to store only a reference or just a key, right? It is not going to store the entire object itself here. So I get the difference, right? Right. So think of this, have some way, right? My way is every node is a house, right? Every node is a house. And whenever you do object copying, it's just you're creating a new key for that house, right? One more key. Like you have family members, four people will be having 4 different keys or something, right? That's why we have this keyword called new, right? You want to differentiate between object copy by reference and copy by value, right? So computer will not know whether you copy, whether you want to create a new object or just reference to the existing object. So that's why we have this keyword new. Unless and otherwise you use this keyword new, it is more like copy by reference, meaning you're just referencing to the existing object. If you want to create a new object, you have to use this keyword new. So now you can get the idea of why this new keyword is helpful here, right? Right. So yeah, every node will not be having its original key, but you can do how much ever copying you want and then create one, right? So this head again is of type node, right? But head is not a separate object in itself. It is just referencing to the starting object. You get the idea, right? So head is the only key you have. Head is the only key to the first house you have. From there on, you have to make sure that you keep the key properly, right? So at this point, head is having the key to the first house. First house is having key to the second house. Second house is having key to the third house, and so on, right? If you want to have, you can also have multiple keys. We'll see how to do that, right? But yeah, you get the idea, right? Okay. So again, right, head is not a separate object. It's just referencing to the first house, more like a key to the first house, right? Head is not a new house itself, right? So yeah. Okay. So once you get this, then linked list is going to be so easy, right? Linked list is going to be super easy, right? So as I said, right, so linked list is not as very, linked list is kind of difficult because of this reason, right? Because we usually don't think about copy by reference and other things. So we should be very careful. Even if someone is, as I said, right, if you have 4 keys, if someone is changing something, the other 3 will not even be notified. So you should be very careful. Even in real world, you have to be careful, right? So if 4 people are having key to your car, if someone is, doing something inside, you will not know, right? Unless you go and see that, right? So that's why linked list is kind of confusing. So the main thing is there'll be logic and implementation, right? Logic and implementation, right? So this logic part is generic, right? So this is not dependent on linked list. Linked list comes in this implementation part, meaning you need not worry too much about how am I going to do this in linked list during logic phase, right? So logic phase is logic, right? Linked list is more of implementation phase, right? So you can implement either in linked list or in array, right? So the complexity can change based on which one you use because each one is having its own advantages and disadvantages, right? So yeah. So as I said, so once after the session, you can start doing linked list questions because it is not part of this logic part, right? It is part of this implementation part. And usually we'll be having only three things, right? So one is traversal. Traversal is nothing but going through the linked list or searching the linked list. Then addition. Addition is adding a node to the linked list. Deletion is deleting of a node from a linked list. Right. So yeah, these 3 are the main things which will be had. Okay. So what we'll do is we'll quickly see traversal and then we'll have small break and then we'll come back and see addition. Right. If you have time, we'll also see deletion. And next class we'll see some problems. But yeah, we'll quickly see what is a traversal. Right. Okay. So just to give a quick idea, I've already attached all the slides and how you can do implementation and other things. I'm using this thing, right? So if you see, right, so this is the class node. There is something called constructor. Don't worry too much about it. We'll see what is constructor later. Okay, when you see oops, you'll understand that. Right? So yeah. So this is what we are going to do. Class node, and you'll be having the. So this is a user-defined class. So when you pass this object to some built-in function, it will not know what to do because it is of type car or it is of type house, right? So that's why linked list is difficult. If it is an array, you can directly pass it into some built-in method, say find the index of method or something, right? It will directly give you answer, but you can't do it here because it is user-defined data type. Right? So yeah. Okay, so we'll quickly see traversal. So what is traversal? It's very simple, right? So you will be given the head of the linked list. So in any linked list question, you'll be given only the head, right? Meaning the reference to the first house, right? because with that you can go wherever you want, right? So yeah. So you'll be given the reference to the first house, which is the head. So any linked list question, they'll give you only the head. Head is of type node, right? But head is not a separate node itself. It's just referencing to the first node, right? So every term I say is important here. So head is not a separate house. It is just referencing to the first house, more like a key to the first house, right? So they'll give you the key to the first house and they'll give you some problem, right? Usually it will be something like this, okay? So yeah, coming back, you're given the key to the first house, which is said, you want to find is there a node with value, right? Node with data or value. Node with data or value X, right? So you'll be given the head of the linked list. You have to find whether is there a node with value X there, right? So yeah. Right. So 1, 2, 3. I'm just putting it here. 1, 2, 3. Right. So yeah. So this is the question. So is everyone clear on the question? You are given the head of this linked list. You have to find, is there a node with value X or data X in this linked list? If it is available, you return true. If it is not available, you return false. Right. So yeah. Simple question. Anyone wants me to repeat the question? Okay, so this is the question. More like searching in an array. It's just that you're going to search in a linked list. Okay, so this is the question. So from now on, I'm not going to do anything. So I'll give you some tips here and there. You guys are going to fill in, right? Okay. So first thing first, right? So head is the only key you have, right? Head is the only key to the first house you have, right? Can I use head itself to traverse the linked list? So head is currently pointing to the first house. Can I use head to the point to the second house, point to the third house, and then search and give you the answer? Whenever you, yeah. So yes and no, I got yes and no. So why no, why yes? Right. So just think of this idea. Right? Say you're going to search it. Yeah, I think I got the answer. Right. So head is here. Right. So for this use case, it will be helpful, but I'll say what will happen in the later case. Right? So head is pointing to the first house. Right. So you see maybe x is equal to 4. Okay. So x is equal to 4. So or x is equal to 3. Okay. So you want to search whether the value 3 is existing or not. So head is currently referencing to the first house, right? So first house data is not equal to whatever you want, X. So what do? Head will go here, right? Head is again saying this, okay, it is not there. It is going here. Okay, it is saying, okay, I want the value 3, I got the value 3. So I'm going to return true. Okay. Okay. So this time it's over, right? Next time when someone is coming in, where will head be pointing to? Is it the right starting point? Right? So this is the issue with this. So you are having only one key. So you're losing the key. What is the key? Key to the first house. Once you lose the key to the first house, there is no way you can go back, right? So there, one thing to note here is linked list is always unidirectional. From left and you can go right, right? So there are other types of linked list, but this is the toughest part. So once you understand this, other things will be easy, right? So whenever I say someone is saying linked list, it means that this linked list. So it is always unidirectional, meaning you can only go from left to right. Right. So now you understand why you can't use head for this. So head, you should not use head to traverse it. So head is having some purpose, right? So the purpose of head is to point to the first source. You should not, in any program, right? Not just linked list. Whenever someone is having some purpose, you should not change its purpose because others will be thinking, okay, head is always starting the first point, but it is not, right? So yeah. Okay. So is everyone clear on why you should not use head? Anyone wants me to explain this again? Great. So now you can't use head, right? So everyone is clear on that part. Okay. So what is the easiest way to do this? What will you do in this case if you were stuck here? So you can't use head for traversal. You had one key, right? You had one key, but can you duplicate those keys? You have the power to do that, right? So what will you do in this case? Okay. So I'll just write one statement and I'll say, what does the statement mean? Okay. In a copy by reference world. So let temp is equal to head, right? So what does this statement mean? Okay. So temp is equal to head, right? So temp is one more key which is created, right? So this statement, what does it mean is temporary, right? This temp, you point where head is pointing to. So where is head pointing to? Or where is head referencing to? So currently where head is referencing to? First object, right? First node, first object or first node, right? When you do temp equal to head, it means that you point where head is pointing to. So temp will point where head is pointing to. Where is head pointing to? To the first node. So temp will also be pointing to the first node. So this is how you should read if it is a copy by reference, right? So this is copy by reference, right? So it doesn't mean that temp is going to point to head, right? Temp is going to point where head is pointing to, right? So yeah, you get the difference. So temp is more like a one another key to the first source, right? So you can't lose the first key because once you lose it, you lose it. So you create a duplicate key. So you're creating temp a duplicate key. But temp is not having a separate object, it's just pointing to the first object. So if temp is changing somewhere inside, if you go via head also, it will be changed. More like someone getting into your car and changing something, right? So yeah. So is everyone clear about the first statement? So anyone wants me to explain this first statement? Right. So this is the main crux of this copy by reference. After this, you'll be easily going through this, right? Okay. So temp is now pointing where head is pointing. Head is currently pointing to the first node. So temp is also pointing to the first node, right? So now you want to compare bits and bits. You want to compare x and bits. Say someone is saying find a car of color red. Okay. Find a car of color red, right? So you're having the reference to the first car. Okay. So if temp.data, right? If the current car's color is equal to the color I want, what should I do? So what is the question? You find the node with value x, right? So now what you're doing, you're currently pointing to the first source. You're seeing whether the first source value is what you want, right? So if it is what you want, what do you do here? Return true, right? So this is the question, right? So if you find a value with, if you find a node with data equal to x, so this can be called as data or value. people use different terminologies. The slide I given, they'll be using value, but people also use data. You can use whatever you want. You can even use ABC or DEF. The only thing is, if it is having some meaning, it will be easier to understand, right? So yeah, so you return true. So if the data part is equal to the data I want, you return true, right? Okay. So this is the first part. So is everyone clear on this first part? If it is not the data I want, what do you do logically? Let's not think about the computer point of view, right? So logically, if you're at some house, you don't want to see, you don't have what you wanted in the house. So what do you do? Yeah, you can do temp is equal to head dot next, but it will not work for the next case, right? So next case, it will not work. You get the idea, right? Because head is constant, temp is changing, right? So next time when you go to 2, you can't use head dot next. It will be in 2 always, and it will be a runtime error, right? So yeah, so you can't do that, but think of it something like generic, right? Okay. So now I am at the first house, right? First house is not what I want. I want to go to the second house. Who is having the key to the second house? One is having two things. One is having data, which you have compared. One is having some other thing, which is next, right? So temp.next will give me the reference to the next house, meaning the key to the next house, right? So who should go to the next house? The temp itself, right? So temp, you don't reference to this house, you reference to the next house. Who is going to give me the reference to the next house? It's next, right? So temp, you don't reference to the first house, you reference to the second house. Who is having the reference to the second house? Temp.next. So temp is equal to temp.next. So is everyone clear on this statement? As I said, right? So whenever you want to do something, you think logically first, and then you try to make it into code. In that way, you'll be clear. Right? Okay. So this is very common, right? So someone told that you can use head.next. Yes, it will work for the first case, but second case, what will happen is head.next will always be 2, right? So it'll be in 2 always. So head is equal to head.next. So 2 will be kind of a loop, right? So yeah. So temp.next is very generic, right? Because temp is also changing. So temp.next will also be changing, right? So yeah. Instead of temp, you can't use head. What will happen next step? When you use head, right? What will happen? So it will be here, right? So first time it will work. Next, what will head dot next return? It will again return 2. So temp will again point to 2. Again temp dot head dot next will return 2. So it will be a loop. So you can't use head dot next because it is a generic code, right? So as I said, right? So whenever you write code, you make it generic, right? So I think I missed one part, which is in first time it will work, but you have to do this. You don't know, right? There can be 1,000 times or 10,000 nodes. You can't do this 10,000. You can't write this 10,000 times. So you have to loop it, right? So how do you loop it? So till when will you be doing this? So till when will you be doing this? Temp.next equal to null. There is no next as such. You can't access next, right? It should be of some object. Next of which object? Temp or head, right? So yeah, you can't directly access any name. While temp is not equal to null, right? Not if it is equal to null, then it will not even go in the first place, right? So yeah, temp is not equal to null, right? So till this point, you'll be doing this, right? Why temp dot next not equal to null? Someone is saying, usually we think like that, right? So there's this thing, right? So from 2 you come here, okay? So this is temp. So here temp dot next is equal to null. if you put as temp dot next is not equal to null, it will not even go and see this third node. So when you put temp dot next not equal to null, it will not even see the last one, right? So that's why it is temp is not equal to null. So after seeing this node, what will happen? Temp is equal to temp dot next. What is 3's next? So from 3, where should I go next? Null, right? So temp will at that stage it will become null. When temp becomes null, you can stop, right? So yeah, that's the idea. So till temp is not equal to null, you have to do this. So is everything clear on this? So even after doing everything, if you are still not getting the answer, you have to return false. This is outside this loop, okay? Outside this while loop, return false. Meaning you have seen all the nodes, you still couldn't find x, you can return false. If you had already found the value x, this would have returned true. So you do not worry about having any condition here. Even after doing everything, if you still can't find, you return false. Okay. So this is a basic traversal code. Any doubts in this? Okay, so there was one doubt. Instead of creating temp, you can create head.data. It will work for the first case. Right? Head is always going to point to the first node. How will you know? How will you compare for the second case? So head.data is always going to return 1, right? You can't move the head also. Once you move the head, you know the issue with that, right? So you can't move the head. It is always going to point to the first data. But after the first node, when you go to the second node, what will head.data return? It will return 1, right? But actually 1, 2. So it will work only for the first case. Or you have to move head. Both these things is not possible. Head is equal to head.next will work. But if you got the idea behind moving the head, right? So after doing everything, what will happen? This problem will be solved, right? So this problem will be solved. But next time when you're coming, head will be pointing to 3 or null, right? So you'll lose the entire linked list. You get the idea? So you should not move head. So once you move head, you lose the reference to the first house, right? It means that you lost the address to the first house. Once you lose address to the first house, it's lost. You can't go and get it back, right? So you get it? That's why I explained why you should not use head here directly. Head is having some purpose. Purpose of head is always point to the first house, right? So if you try to point it to the second or third house, you're going to lose. So now is it clear?
Hello? Hello? Am I audible?
Yes, you are.
Actually, I wanted to know, means, is there any great advantage of using this linked list thing? In fact, it's a little bit different from other things like array. Any
Right.
specific
So
advantage?
yeah, you can get so one thing is, so I think someone is also asking the same thing. Is it is inefficient because if you want to get the fourth element or something, you can't do it in O(1). You have to do it in O(n), right? In array, you can do it in O(1) because it's just mathematical. So since someone is asking, I'm just sharing this. So time complexity of getting, searching an element is O(n), right? Or getting any element itself is O(n) because you have to go there. You can't directly jump into that elements, right? So there is a disadvantage, yes, but in some cases there will be an advantage, right? So as I said, for the application you can Google, but in some cases it will be a advantage, especially in gaming industry or something. You can use this. So personally, you can clear interviews, so that's an advantage for you. So, but in real world, you very the only thing is they want you to know whether you know object copying and whether you can have a shift in thinking pattern. So that is the main idea. Linked list is just a way to test your that knowledge, right? Say you're working in some different thing where you should need a shift in thinking pattern. So this is a shift in thinking pattern, right? So when someone is doing something, the obvious thing what a human being will do is, okay, Temp is creating a new object, but that's not the case here, right? So that's what they're testing. The testing is not just whether you know linked list or not. It's just whether you can think of if there is a shift needed in your job for something, whether you can have that shifting pattern and whether you can understand and use that, right? So that's some basic idea. Real world, as I said, very less usage. But yeah, the advantage is whenever you want, you can allocate memory. So that's the advantage, right? Unlike arrays where you have to create memory beforehand. Disadvantages, yes, you can't directly go and access any element. You get the idea. So yeah. So it depends on what you want. So in some cases, in some real world application, you need not access any element directly. You'll always access it in order. So in those cases, linked list will be helpful. So yeah, so I think you can just Google and see where it is used. It is being used, but the only thing is it's not as extensively used as arrays or something, because the application needed is very less. But there'll be some advantage, right? So yeah. Okay, so just one addition to the same question, and then we'll have a short break. Okay. So here the question was return true or false if it is available or not, right? What if the question is changed to you return the index of the linked list if the element is found. If the element is found in the fourth index, you return 4. If the element is found in the third index, you return 3. If the element is not found, you return -1. You get the difference. You get the difference between the question, right? So instead of returning available or not, you have to return the index at where it is available, if it is available. Say if 2, so where is it available? It is available in the second index, right? So you have to return 2, right? So something like that. So how will you change this code to accommodate that? Okay, you can't rely on temp.data always. Temp.data can be 11, 22, 33. So you can't rely on that. Yeah, what is the easiest way? Add a counter, right? So let counter is equal to 0 or counter is equal to 1. So what does it mean? Currently temp is pointing to the first house, right? Whenever you do temp is equal to temp.next, and just delete this. Whenever you do temp is equal to temp.next, you do counter plus plus as well. Counter plus plus. Then instead of returning true here, you return the counter. Instead of returning false here, you return minus, right? So only 4 addition. You have a counter. Whenever a temp is changing, your counter, what does it mean? It means it which count of the node temp is pointing to, right? So temp is currently pointing to the first node, so the count is equal to 1. Whenever temp is changing, you do count plus plus. Temp is always going to go one thing at a time, right? So counter plus plus. Whenever a data is hit, you return the counter. And then even after doing everything, if you don't get anything, you return minus, right? So this is how you will be changing the existing code to accommodate this new code, right? So I'm discussing this because this will be needed later. Right? So yeah. So is everyone clear on this new question and on how we will be modifying this to get the answer? Right. So what we'll be doing is we'll be having a short break. 10:30 we'll meet again. So I'll keep the slide here. I think it will be useful. I'll close this and I'll also attach the feedback form. So please fill in the feedback if you have time, or else you can keep the form and then fill it later also. But yeah, it will help me improve. Right? So yeah. So we'll meet at 10:30 again. Okay, so yeah, welcome back. So we'll continue the session. Okay, so far, just to give a quick recap, we just saw what is linked list, what is object copying and other things, and then copy the reference, and then we saw how to traverse a linked list, right? So this is the basic. So usually most of the questions will just be traversal, right? So logic, as I said, is independent of this linked list. So anyway, that logic will require you problem solving ability skills. Okay. So yeah. So coming back, so first we have already seen what is traversal, right? So in that we also saw some extra addition, which is instead of just returning true or false, I also want to return the index at which it is found, right? So that's why we have added this extra counter and we are doing this. So why I did this was traversal is a prerequisite for addition and deletion as well, right? So if we do it now itself, it will be easier for us. Okay. So now coming back, so first we'll see how to do addition in the linked list. Right? Okay. So now the question is, you are given the head of a linked list, right? So as I said, you'll be given only the head of the linked list. The reason being, for with head, you can do whatever you can do. You can go and see whatever you want, right? You're given the head of the linked list, and you want to add one new node between second and the third index, right? So you want to add new node between the second and the third index. Say I'm just doing 1, 2, 4. Okay. You want to add a new node with value 3, right? With value 3 after the second index, right? After second index. So meaning after this, it should look something like this. Okay. So there should be a new node, 2 should be pointing to 3, 3 should be pointing to 4, right? And its value should be 3. So it will be 1, 2, 3, 4 after doing everything, right? So that's the expectation, right? So is the question clear? So more like you want to add some node in between two nodes, right? So here the expectation is you have to add node with value 3 after the second node, right? So yeah. Okay. So question is clear, right? Okay. So you guys are going to answer this. So what is the first part? What is the first thing you have to do here? Can you use the head itself for traversal? Right. Okay. So temp is equal to head. So what is temp going to do? Temp is going to point, or temp is going to reference where head is referencing to. So where is head referencing to? First node, right? So temp will be referencing to this first node, right? Okay. I want to add a new node after the second index, right? I want to add a new node after the second index. Okay. So what do I do here? We already saw the traversal, right? So traverse the node till the second node. You all know how to do it, right? We just saw previously. So you just have a counter, you just have one more, you just use the same temporary, you just have the counter and make sure that the counter goes till that part, right? Let's just assume that the number after which they are asking is always available. Okay. So this part we have already seen. So traverse till second node. Why second node? Because you want to add after the second node. If you want to add after the x node, you have to traverse x times, right? So depending on the question. So now temp will be at the second node. Why second node? Because you want to add after the second node. Okay. So temp is here. Right. So right now temp is the one which is going to traverse and temp is going to point to the second node, right? Or second node. Okay. So till this point, is everyone clear? Okay. So third thing is, so they want to create a new node with value 3. Okay. It's like constructing a new house. So how do you construct a new object or a new house or new node? Which keyword you will be using? So it's more like you're creating a new memory space, right? So let new node, I'll just put it as new n because of space constraint, new node. Okay. So let new n is equal to new node, right? Okay. So new n is going to be somewhere in memory, right? So it is going to be somewhere in memory. You don't know where it is, right? Some random memory, because you're not saying you do here, do it there, right? So it will be something like this at the start. Okay. So you want the value. What do you want? The new node should be having the value 3. So it's more like you construct a house with red color paint, or some like light yellow color paint, right? So new n dot data is equal to 3. So now what will happen? 3 will be put here, right? So you want to create a new node with value 3, which is done. Okay. So till this point, is everyone clear? So now you have whatever you want. The only thing is the connection is not stable. 2 is still connecting to 4. So if someone is coming and saying, they'll not even know this 3 is being part of this. So you want to make this 3 part of this linked list, correct? So how do you do that? So till this point, is everyone clear? So till this point, it's more like keeping all the data ready. The fourth and fifth point is more of a logical point, right? So yeah. Okay. So now, till this point, is everyone clear? So you use stem, you went to the place where you want and you created a new object with the value you want. Okay, great. So now 2 should be pointing to 3 and 3 should be pointing to 4. That's the expectation, right? So first you point 2 to 3 and 3 to 4. Okay. So 2 should be pointing to 3 and 3 should be pointing to 4, right? So that's the expectation. So first you point 2 to 3 and 3 should point to 4, right? So is it correct? Can you do that? Can you point 2 to 3? If you point 2 to 3, what will happen? So say I'm pointing this 2 to 3. So what will happen to 4? Right, right. So you're losing the address of 4. So here it is only one node. So what if there are 1,000 nodes after this? You lose the entire 1,000 nodes, right? So you get the difference, right? So the moment you try to point 2 to 3, 2 to 3 can be easily pointed, right? Temp dot next is equal to new node. Temp dot next is equal to new node, directly go and point it to 3. That's not the issue. The issue is logically it is going to hurt you a lot, right? Okay. So what is the easiest way to fix it? So one way is you can have one more variable, right? One more variable to temp dot next, temp 1, and then you can do this. That is also one way, right? Or else you can do it in reverse, right? So first you connect 3 to 4, and then you connect 2 to 3, right? So if you do it in reverse, nothing will happen. You need not have that extra pointer because you already have a pointer for this new node, right? So is everyone clear? Why this order matters here? Okay. So now 3 should point to 4. Who is having the address, reference of 4? Node 2's what? Node 2's data or node 2's next? So whenever you say node 2, it means the entire node. So you have to say node 2's data or node 2's next, right? So node 2's next is having the reference of the 4, right? So how to access node 2's next? Temp is already accessing, right? So temp dot next will give you the reference of 4. So who should be having the reference of 4? 3. 3 is next, right? So new nodes next is equal to temp dot next. So new nodes next 3, you point to 4. Who is having the reference of 4? Temp dot next. So new node dot next is equal to temp dot next. So now is it clear? So now this link will be created, right? Okay, what is the last step you have to do? You have to connect 2 to 3, right? So how do you connect 2 to 3? 2 is next to 3, right? So temp dot next is equal to temp dot next. You point where new node is pointing to. So new node is pointing to 3. Temp dot next is also pointing to 3. Right? So yeah. So these two are the statements. So once you do, what will happen? 2 will be connected to 3. Why? How do you connect 2 to 3? Who's having the reference of 3? New node. So who should connect it to 3? 2 is next. So temp dot next is equal to new node. So if you do this, 2 will be connected to 3, 3 will be connected to 4. Right? So yeah. So with this addition will be done. So any doubts in this? Right. So as I said, right. So once you're clear on the concept, coding is just implementation. And since linked list is just implementation, if you're clear on this object copying and other things, if you can think about that thing, then linked list is just a representation of your idea, right? So as I said, I didn't solve anything. You guys just solved it yourself, right? So yeah. So this is the addition code. Okay. So anyone wants me to explain any part again? Okay. So which case will not work in this logic? So one case will not work in this logic. Which case? Now that will work. So temp dot next is equal to null. You mean adding at the last dot, right? After 4. So that will work. So when so the same logic will work. Say if you want to add 5 after 4, right? So you'll traverse till this node, temp will be here, and then you'll create a new node 5, right? Then what will happen is new node dot next is equal to temp dot next. Temp dot next is null, so new node dot next will also be null. Temp is equal to new node. So 4 will be connected to 5. So last place will also work. So that's not the issue. The place where it will not work is before 1 if you want to add. Like if you want to change the head itself, right? It will not work, right? So yeah. So no node in the linked list is also going to being covered here, right? So that will also not work. So if you're adding it for the first time, or if you're adding if you're if you're changing if you're adding the first node, it will not work, right? So both these cases you can easily handle, right? So if head is equal to null, or if you want to add it in the first place, say k is equal to 1, meaning you want to add it in the first place, right? Say you want to add a 0 here, and it is going to point to 0, 0 is going to point to 1, right? Okay. So what you have to do is first you have to create this object, right? So let new node is equal to new node of 0, okay? New node, and its data value will be 0, right? So there is a easier way to do this. There's something called constructor. If we pass in the value here, this data value will be automatically applied here, but we will not go into this at this point, okay? So new node dot data is equal to 0, right? Okay. So now 0 should point to 1, right? So who is having the reference of 1? Who is having the reference of 1? Head, right? So new node dot next is equal to head, right? New node dot next is equal to head. So 0 will be pointing to 1, right? But now who's the new head? Zero is the new head, right? New node is the new head, right? So head is equal to new node. Sorry, I'll not leave a gap. It is going new end. So head will be pointing here. So is it clear? Right, that's it. So this is the only case. This will work even if if head is equal to null. So if head is equal to null, what will happen? New node will be added. New node dot next is equal to head. So new node dot next will be null, right? And head is equal to new node, right? So what you're going to do, you're going to add a new node 0 before 1, right? Okay. So first you create that node 0. Okay. So first you create that node 0. So that is till this part. Okay. So till this part that is done. Okay. So now if you change head, you'll be again in the same condition where you lose the entire linked list, right? So head is the only guy who is having the reference to the first node. You can't change head now. But what you can do is you can connect 0 to 1 and then change the head, right? So who is having the reference of 1? Head is having the reference of 1. So new node dot next is equal to head. So 0 will be pointing to 1, right? So that is the first part. Now you have done the first part, right? Now 1 is not the new head anymore, right? So 0 is the new head. So who is having the reference of 0? New node, right? So head is equal to new node. So head will be pointing to this new node. So is it clear? Great. So yeah, so this is the idea. If head is equal to null, what does it mean? If head is equal to null, there is no node at all in the linked list. That's the reason. The same case will also work here, right? I mean, the same code will work in that case also. If you can, sit and think about it, it will work because we are doing the same thing. Adding in the first node and linked list being empty or both are same, right? Okay. So with this, I'm closing the addition part of linked list. We still have deletion, but we don't have time, I guess. So I'll stop here. I don't want to cram too much things, but take this, take this one day. Tomorrow we'll be meeting again. So take this one day to, think about what all things we did and what is object copying, other things. So usually linked list, what will happen is initially you'll understand something and suddenly it will become confusing. And again, it'll start understanding, right? So what I would say is this confusing part will come once you start solving some problems, right? So that alone you keep in mind. So what I would suggest is you start solving problems. So most of the questions will just be, traversal. You traverse and do something. You traverse, find something. So most of them will be like this, the easy questions at least. So you can start coding linked list questions. And if it involves addition, then also it's great. We just have to see what is deletion. Deletion is much more easier than addition once you understand this. So with that also, I'll be able to, explain what we saw today, tomorrow, right? So yeah, we'll continue with the deletion part and then we'll move on to the next topics tomorrow. Right. So with this, I'm closing today's session. I'll be giving the slide link and I'll be changing some things in the slide. So a few things were suggested. So I'll be changing few things in the slide, but I'll make sure that this part is updated, right? So I'll be changing the title and I'll be changing moving things because if you see, right, it's still day 2, but we are in day 3 and other things. So yeah, I don't want to, create confusion. So I'll be changing few things and keeping the slide updated. So yeah. So thank you everyone for attending. I'm attaching the slide link. And if someone wants a feedback, I'll also attach that. So yeah, thank you everyone. I can feel free to drop off if you don't have any doubts.